Hello there, feelers. Tim Shieff here, and today marks the completion of 28 days of drinking and ingesting nothing by way of mouth but pure distilled water, no salts, no minerals, no supplements, no juices, no food. That needs to be said. My distiller has just finished running. Thank you, distiller, for your service to me. Up until now, I've drank everything out of glass as well, so my water has avoided plastic. And I guess I wanted to summarise my results and experience so far. I did one at 14 days. I planned on stopping at 7 days, but being in touch with my feeling internally, I was inspired to carry on. Today marks, as I say, 28 days, so I wanted to give some feedback on the second half of this journey so far. And it really has been a story of two halves. But I'll start with the stuff that people want to see, the data, science stuff, my weight basically. So I started at 177 pounds, 12 stone 1, 77 kilos. I'm now at 131 pounds. So that's a big difference. 9 stone 12, 64 kilos. All very healthy within my BMI. I used to be quite high on the BMI scale. Now I'm towards the middle, lower end. But I wouldn't call it weight loss. I'd call it waist loss. There's nothing, I'm still got a lot of muscle. There's nothing gone from me that's felt like a problem. Everything internally feels strong as ever. A lot of people, it's interesting to observe that the shook ones care about how I look, but the real ones out there, those of you, the real ones care about how I feel. And this is the difference for me between fear and love and understanding and projection. And I've always thought the mirror was a dubious thing in our households, and I always wondered, I always put the question out there, what does the mirror do to us to have this? It's not natural to have this option. And the mirror puts us in that judgment of how something looks, rather than listening to how we feel internally. And so those of you that are wondering how I feel, good question, very good question. I can summarise it in 2 words. There's a lot of different feelings, but the main one that stands out to me is heart-centered. I feel very, very heart-centered. Balanced, aligned, emotionally balanced, poised, focused, sharp, connected, magnetic, like more of a vessel, a channel for connection to something less in this physical, and not in a airy fairy way, but I just feel more connected to something that I should be connected to, So, as I said, with this being a story of two halves, with the fasting, and the first half, the first 14 days, was when I was in Tenerife, was very much internal in the organs, the toxemia leaving the organs. What the mind, we have a reptilian mind, which is beneficial to us, it's crucial. And what this does is it creates a hierarchy in our body of what we need to live and survive, and it protects until the very last moment the things we need to survive the most. So the brain and the heart are the last things that would ever go, and after then it's the organs, and then it's like the muscles and the joint, or the joints and then the muscles. So the first thing that happens when you stop digesting, because we take so much of our energy to digest food, and this hinders our healing, and because we live in such a toxic environment, and we through comforts create toxicity in our body with the shoes and beds and warm clothes and things like that, we allow for toxicity to creep in. It creates poison. Comfort can become a poison if we're not on top of it. So what this hierarchy does on the to-do list is, as soon as we stop the energy digesting, it goes straight to the top of the list of what's the most important organ that I need to work on, which seemed to be the heart and the liver and the kidney and the bowels. And so the first 14 days, it felt very much like it was getting all the toxemia out of the deep internal organs, because that's the most important thing for my body to flourish. It needs them to flourish first. So it very much felt like it was working on them. Now, it's not to say that that's done. There's still work to be done, I'm sure. But as it shifted to the second half and I got back to England and I was able to relax in this space, and that work seemed to be like it was done for the most part, it moved outwards from that point. So the last 14 days I felt it moved and shift much more into my joints, into my muscles, into my ankles, into my toenails, which is one of the main reasons I fasted, was the question of why is my toenail got a fungal infection? Why can't I heal it through being vegan and all this stuff? And it shifted then. So the priority, it worked on the things it needed to work on. Then now it's to go, okay, cool, what's next in the to-do list? That's the priority. So it's so intelligent to witness that in myself. Yes, I've read loads of fasting books, but what I want to tell to you is what I've felt on this journey and how I've experienced it. And so that's where it's been. The toenails, I've put up a video on day 7 and day 21 of them, and they're continuing to get much, much better. The eczema on my feet, I don't know if you remember me showing you day 21, 25, there was still eczema, and someone actually commented, you should go until that stops. That should be your sign when to stop. And that is, again, not perfect, but it's still a lot better. My flexibility has increased massively in the second half. In the first half, I didn't notice much freedom in my spine or anything, but the second half, it seems to have, now it's done the organs, then we do the spine, the skeletal system. And that's been really cool to witness as I'm shedding, as I say, the waste loss, the stuff that's in my joints that is not essential for me to be an optimum human. And yes, I may look skinny and slim and gaunt, but that is a projection of a society which is naturally overweight, overconsumes, eats processed foods, which we're full of toxicity and mucus. And so if actually everyone ate a clean, whole food diet, everyone would naturally be much leaner, and I wouldn't look as much of a shock. And of course, the speed of my transition to this weight may shock people as well, but that is a projection again of themselves. And so internally, I feel very vibrant. I have actually been using this, as I mentioned in a few videos, the gua sha tool over the last few days. I'm doing loads of self-massage, getting into my muscles, getting the scar tissue out of my joints. I actually noticed the scar on my chest is starting to heal really nicely. And even using my thumbs as well. Now that one of the greatest things to notice is the noise in my body is gone from constantly consuming, and as I say, the digestion. There was a lot of inflammation. I couldn't pinpoint and identify where the tightness in my body was coming from. It was just all over. There was an overall density. Now I could see it myself. People that don't understand mobility or how the body should function or can function won't have seen that, but people that know mobility or gymnastics or yoga could have seen that in me, the inflammation and the density. That's not necessary for me and not conducive for me for the life I want to live. So through the fasting, it's removed all the noise internally from my body, the inflammation, the stuff that's the surface level stuff, and helped to really highlight and pinpoint those areas in my body that are really tight and really need to be addressed. So there's the points in my back that I mentioned previously, the quadrilumbaris or something, these points in my calves. Now it's more accurate where I need to work on the source of these issues that limit my mobility. So that's been really wonderful to notice and to just give me a focus to work on it. So thank you to this little tool of jade, gua sha, that I've used with a bit of coconut oil to massage myself out, and I'm going to continue to do that. As I say, this second half has been all about sorting the muscles and the scar tissue out. I also actually went to see a physiotherapist for some massage and just for some extra analysis on my ankle, and he was really interested, and he said, no, I told him, because I remember years ago being told that my left leg is longer than my right, and so I mentioned that to him for the first time in, maybe I've said that out loud in 5 years. And then the next day I got a message from a lovely woman, Stina, lives in Crete, saying she wanted to support me. I don't want to support your Patreon, but I'll give you a Reiki session. I said, sure, where do you live? She said, Chania in Crete. She said, I can do it at distance though. She said, if you just lay down at a certain time, and this is going to sound way out there for people, and I get that, trust me. I laid down, half an hour Reiki, felt all right. Felt, like I mentioned before, I felt like when I lie down still on fasting anyway, you enter nature's operation table, and it's like the angels go over. After a while, they start to creep in, and you feel the buzz go on in the areas that need the work. So I just felt that as normal, but she was in the distance doing Reiki. And then the next day she said, during another session, I said, well, I'm doing nothing tomorrow morning again, so why not? I'm going to lay down and go on nature's operation table regardless of whether you're doing Reiki or not. So we did it again, and she's like, can I call you after? And she called me on Facebook chat, and she said, can I ask you something? Is your right leg shorter than your left? And, you can take from that what you will. I'm not saying it proves anything, but for me, I was like, what is this woman doing? What is she telling me? What is going on here? So I was like, okay, I'm going to listen up. And so I did a few more sessions with her. She's recommended some future practices for me to do, and that's following my intuition now. It's like, oh, okay. Anyway, and then I got an acupuncture session today just to test some acupuncture. Now that my body is a little less noise going on, I was able to identify, hey, I want, can you do this point, this point, this point? So that was really cool to get some acupuncture now that I'm working out of the internal stuff. And as I say, when it was the first few weeks, the internal stuff is when it's the real toxic stuff in your organs. That's when you feel so depleted because your body's dealing with that, and you have to go through the illness to feel better. The second half has been I felt a lot better. I felt slightly, equally fragile muscularly because I'm not feeding my muscles with any supply. But internally and energetically, I do feel a good buzz, positive, and that is to speak to that. It's the other work that's going on in my joints and stuff, which is less toxic to the body for it to heal. So quite often I'll mention things in videos in the past, like the one the other day about nutritional deficiencies and stuff like that. And it's amazing to see people's input, and people are saying, do have coriander, don't have coriander, do have activated charcoal, actually don't have activated charcoal. Oh, but you need to read this book. Hey, you need to check out John Rose. You need to check out Dr. Morse. You need to just read Dr. Gregg's How Not to Die and just eat the plant-based diet that he lives. And I look at these people that people say, I've watched all of these videos. I've met Dr. Gregg. I've watched loads of his studies. I like them all. They're all great people. For me, though, this shows the imbalance and the inaccuracy because everyone has differing views, and the truth should be simple. And that's why I started with a water fast. You could say dry fast would be simpler, yeah, but I started with a water fast because I want to start here and then look at the juice fasting and really come at it from the most neutral standpoint that I can. Juice fasting, you don't get into this stage of autophagy because you're still processing sugars for your muscles to function. I'm excited to do that in the future, but at this stage, no. And again, at the same time, I don't just look at someone with a PhD, a doctor, someone sat behind a desk with a white suit and go, oh, this guy's obviously got good information. I look them in the eye. I look at this guy's vibrancy. Are they really living for me, a PhD, the real PhD is their body and their glow and their shine and their balance. And that's why I look at people like Felix Price, who is free in his body. John Rose has got a lot of truth. How free is he in his body? He plays tennis and stuff. He seems fairly free, but how free? And that's why I look at the raw food movement, the yoga people, the acro yoga. These people are free in their body. And these people are into the raw foods and the fasting. I watch people, even someone like Dan the Man, respect to that guy, did 40-day water fast, Big up Sean Walsh did a 40-day water fast. Those people, they're beaming. Again, it's not, I'm not saying this is the truth because it's the full package for me. So as I say, Felix Price is someone who I specifically see as like the beaming, happy and free in their body. And do you know who else is free in their body? Billions of people. Children. What are children doing? They're constantly moving, they're vibrant, they're fidgeting, they're twitching, they're jumping off the sofa, and it's adults that are telling them, stop, be still, and they get to school and they learn to sit in a square chair. I've got rounded shoulders because I always did handstands, strong shoulders, and I had to squeeze in like this. And so it's created a posture that I have to correct now and feel like there's an abundance of space around me in order to correct that. it's the adults that have limited the children. And what happens then when you limit your body from these free movements all around? When you limit this, you move your whole center of being into your mind, and that's where society is today. We're trapped in our mind. We're trying to think our way out of this issue, sat behind a desk with PhDs. I look at Dr. Gregg with his bald hair and his glasses. He's helping people, but it's not. And you can use that, and it's a stepping stone. But for where I'm at, I want the guy glowing, beaming. The children, that's why I look that way. They're all around us. We just have to know which way to look and trust them. Trust that they've got wisdom to teach us, and that there's something they're doing that's right. And like I said before, we've got a physical body, and there's a whole world out there to adventure and explore. And I've done a lot of it. And I know that I could do it and feel even better in my body when I've not got these attachments to food. Yes, I want to eat, and I want to eat loads of fruit. But I've not got attachments to eating chips at the end of my run. That I've not got... that I'm not slowed down by this wheeze. I felt like I had like some second person in me sometimes when I was trying to run uphill. Like I had some mild form of asthma in my lungs. Like I couldn't breathe properly half the time, and I would hear myself wheezing in races. And I knew something wasn't right, and that's what's driven me to do this. There's a whole world, and the freer I could feel with my joints and not have to finish a run and have stiffness, that is the dream for me to have this physical temple, and this is the temple, body's the and what God created for us out there. That is what we're trying to get to, and kids know how to do that, and the schooling system and everything has hindered it, and living in cities has hindered and lowered it. And so again, going on little rants here, but this is just me wanting to express my observations and my feelings that I've learnt throughout this. And so the journey for me through fasting in the second half is about freeing the body, and that's the goal. And to come back once I will start eating the fruit again, once I break this fast, then I can start to do the yoga and to continue, use the fruits as astringencies, as they are astringent, to push through further toxicity. But at this stage, I'm letting the body do what it does. So an interesting question people might find is bowel movements. I used an enema on the second day and had one after that. I had a bowel movement on the 6th day. I had one on the 21st day. Really wasn't much, and I've not had one since. So nothing, and doesn't feel close to one. The odd burp, the odd trump, that's about it. I've also been reading a little less in this second half. I've been more focused on the body, and actually the World Cup has provided amazing entertainment. So if you're ever thinking of fasting, but if you are thinking of it, the World Cup is a good time. Might be 4 years from now, but it's kept me entertained every day and something to follow. The biggest challenges with fasting are actually other people's insecurities. For me, fasting actually feels, when you're in it, like such a natural thing, especially when I'm laid down. There's moments when you feel pure peace, pure bliss, no negativity, mentally just clear. Like I say, nothing negative mentally, nothing negative physically is going on. The biggest issues are people around you, the fear of their own relations to food and their projections, and lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, and lack of faith fundamentally, and lack of trust. I really am in tune with myself, and people around me, some people close to me trust it, but some of my family members have, and God bless them, that they have a tough time with it. But this has been for me, not for them, and I've had to really just focus on even if they are, and it's going to be different for different people, and different people's families are different levels of supporting each other. But it's a very personal decision of how far you can go, depending on how much you're willing to just separate yourself from that, and just I started it for me, and so it's got to always be for me. I'm not here recommending to people to go fast. There's athletes out there who advertise in Subway and McDonald's, and this last World Cup was sponsored by McDonald's, and the Olympics sponsored by McDonald's. I'm going the other way. I'm trying not eating. I'm saying we can take this thing further. We can take, like I said before, I look around and people aren't happy. They've got too many attachments to things that aren't serving them, to these temporary pick-me-up joys, the odd thing that just picks them up through life. We need certain vices to a degree, but we're reliant on these vices. And that's why I realised true happiness, like a child, is just truly happy for existing. And the freedom in the body is a real crucial part of that, because subconsciously, if we're stiff there, it's multidimensional, it's connected. If you've got stiffness in your ankle, it's something in your mind, and something in your mind could cause the stiffness in your ankle, so you can solve it that way. Or an emotion, it's the three-way, the emotions, the emotional body, the mental body, and the physical body. They're all interlinked. And so through freeing the physical body, or through dealing with the emotional traumas and going through that way, or seeing a psychiatrist and dealing with the mental side of things, there's ways to solve it. And fasting, as it deals with the body directly, feel the connection you feel is with the body as it heals, and then the other stuff is just dripping away as well. It brings about other stuff in your life, relationship issues and things like that. But the letting go, the attachments that I've let go of, to how I look, to certain people in my life that are going to judge me differently now, letting go of all that has been massively freeing in myself. And that's going to allow more space for more of my own joy, and to fall in love with myself again, and to explore the one thing I was given that I meant to. If we all just took care of ourselves, then no one would ever have to be upset with each other, because we'd all just be good. But it's the attachments to other people and relying on them, and not like we need to have communities and come together, but the more we're sovereign and independent and enjoying ourselves, the better then we can team up. It's like people have such a fear of death, and it's programmed into us everywhere we look through society to avoid death, subconsciously and consciously, and yet it's more prevalent than ever. We're sicker than ever, and people are so scared of dying that they can't live. And this is going the other way. Everyone thinks you're going to die if you don't eat, and this is going, actually I feel more alive, actually I feel closer to life, actually I've faced the demons, and it's not that scary, and I feel stronger than ever. And even if I did die, I'm content in that. That's one of the biggest things we need in life, is to ready ourselves, to prepare ourselves for death, because we're all going to die, and all our friends and family are all going to die. And it's my belief that it's not the end, but either way, it's better to do the work to accept it as soon and as young as possible. So this is my own personal choice and my own journey in order to face death and to go, I'm not scared of it. And you know what? I might just end up living and enjoying life even more throughout that. To some, this might look like I'm taking a risk, and yet to me it feels like the most natural, guided thing in faith. And honestly, the space and vibrancy that I feel, that there's all fear in the mind. It's all in the mind. It's all our subconscious programming. It feels like I'm flying. And so to sum up my experience of 28 days on nothing but water, which now actually tastes incredibly sweet, it has been a real journey and a transformation that is once in a lifetime, very personal, and it's my choice. Whatever people think, they're welcome to their opinions, but it's for me. If you care about me, you care how I feel, and I told you how I feel. And so I want to finish with a poem from Rumi. Fasting. There's hidden sweetness in the stomach's emptiness. We are loose, no more, no less. If the soundbox is stuffed full of anything, no music. If the brain and belly are burning clean with fasting, every moment a new song comes out of the fire. The fog clears, and new energy makes you run up the steps in front of you. When you fast, good habits gather, like friends who want to help. Fasting is Solomon's ring. Don't give it to some illusion and lose your power. But even if you have, if you've lost all will and control, they come back to you when you fast, like soldiers appearing out of the ground, pennants flying above them. A table descends to your tents, spread with other food, better than the broth of cabbages. And that's it for 28 days. Thank you for following my journey. I'll keep on with the content. It'll keep on coming. ETHCS, we got the hoodies back in stock. We got t-shirt versions of this design as well. Links to everything, the distiller, books that I've read, this couch, people asking me for this couch, man. Linked it all down below. And I'm going to be at UK Fruit Festival this year. It should be awesome. There's a discount code below, ETHCS or caps lock. If you want to see me there, that'd be great to connect. If some of you want to talk further, that is the spot to come to. UK Fruit Festival, unlimited fruit, a great chance to go raw. It's the week before Rawgust as well. We're going to do Rawgust all of August. So it's the perfect opportunity to come hang out, eat some amazing fruit together. I'll be eating by then, I'll be refeeding, and it will just be a real cool party with some really cool cats coming from all over the world. Fruitarian lifestyle, you know what it is. Thank you all for watching. Godspeed.